So we're just going to jump in. How to Take a Bullet. All of these poems have titles appropriated from the worst case scenario survival handbook. That's all you really need to know. So this is How to Smoke a Cigar. Rough the edges, steamy as gravel, your voice smoke blue, graphite soft, a rain-slipped city. Focus your mouth, the lips are key. Unhinge your wicked daydreams. Let your teeth graze and your breath breathe. Head back, adjust your hat, your heat a small fever beating like a sun. Stained fingers taste tobacco and earth, tiny lessons of adulthood. Your journey maps the body, unfurling its ghosts. Shadow ballerinas, twirling for no one. How to survive if you're buried alive. Sit down by the window's heartbeat to listen for rain. Fingertips brush the body as braille, seeking cracks in the facade, or an egress from this book of wind. Breath recurs often, brazen as the North Star, a test of endurance through layers of weather. How many stones are required to collapse a lung or a desire? How to navigate a minefield. The pen, the page, these weapons of change, these agents of inertia, of insurrection, of your voice, like the slow motion of snow melt sculpting a new landscape, as the flower of our times nods whitening. You locate change in abandonment, mine the body's oceans, the moon's slow tidings churning with blood and sand. Blinded by the glare of culture, you attend to your dailiness, remember the lessons of history, old news tied to the feet of birds, once urgent messages driven on the backs of beasts. News of revolution, news of change, of new kinds of freedom, or half empty the change of new oppression. Another silent story embedded in the subtext of the disappeared, of murdered journalists, grandmothers marching in plazas, and children burning to ash. While we build new bridges, buy new phones, the dim threat of apocalypse unheeded, you execute change in the trenches, alive with resistance, minding the power of rocks to bend the blood. How to treat a bullet or a knife wound. This was for Lee Miller, for the Man Ray Lee Miller exhibit that was at the Legion of Honor not long ago. Take off your gown. Finger the trigger. Reclaim the curve of your neck, a smooth white dove. Your elegant hands disembodied, your severed breasts dismembered, defiant, ready for the feast. Walk backwards downstairs and into mouths, into arms full of objects, splintered glass, lilies and moon shadows, these words about love. The dead sleep in your arms with pretty white teeth and on the pages of journals. The texture of bondage is a bell jar, a trophy of light. Birdcage, banjo, shadow of a saw, shrouded in mesh and lace. Stripped, repurposed, recombined, reloaded, man carves his name in the crook of your eyelid. You are the statue, you are the breath, restless and ricochet, iron and silk. In a landscape of drowned mouths where shells burst near snow, in a train full of bodies, in the symphony of war, smell the charred, wet wood, carry the blood, the bones, the bottle. These photos, your legacy of friendship, your necklace of loneliness. How to escape when tied up. No one can know your unpronounceable name. Raw skin and chapped hands measure the power of invisibility. This is your country now. Tapestry of lost ambitions, pale as dust on the surface of someone else's bed. Turn your eyes upward to let shadows crawl across ceiling cracks, the soft accents of bondage. There's something about the texture of this burlap landscape. Its loose weave lets in rain and the rough hands of men. How to survive when lost in the desert. In the crackling aftermath, become a liquid. When your lovers try to hold you, run blithely through their fingers. Evaporate. The mirage will expand, pulled from crooked mouths against the stolen panoply of sky. Become content with the memory of your wetness on their hands and lips. How to survive an avalanche. You guys getting all this? You feeling more ready for survival now? Using only your keyboard, trace the outline of the woman you've always wanted to be. When you find yourself filling in the hair, the scales, the sharp, sharp teeth, let the sky bleed into the margins of this burgeoning narrative, this dirty white noise, this media drift. Let her blind grope find you in the dark. These paper-soft fingertips, threadbare and alone, accumulating snow with wet red edges. How to control a runaway camel. This is important shit to know, you guys. Name your camel Alexander the Great, Charlie, Honey Baby, or Cherry Apple Bend Over Surprise. Ownership begins with a name. Wrap your legs around the beast and dig your fingers into the brittle earth of its mane, coarse as a tongue. Learn how to say yes and no. Pay attention to the motion of sea in your hands, dry, folding, and folded as a paper bird. Say to yourself, practice makes permanent. Your camel reeks of damp socks and urine, leftover laundry, after you fall out of love. Never tell Charlie where you are going. Remember, the ride is a game. You must chase the one who runs. Run from those who chase. How to fend off a shark. Wet fists in your eyes, the thump of undrumming, a figure in your peripheral vision. Here is the rind of night, facing off on a rock of ice, nightgown whipping, ragged around your thighs. Because silence is an expression of fear. Unwave that flag, unsmoke that cigarette, unfuck that friend. These desperate little fistfuls of defiance. This jazz song does not belong to you. Warm, the sensation of sleep. Threadbare, the quality of wishing. Because police are at the door again. This wrecking ball in your bedroom. This fresh fountain of silver in your hair. Blue, the function of smoke. Rumbled, the flavor of resistance. There are things that vanish unexpectedly. The stone talisman you carried for luck. Photographs burned in a fire. Bewildered, the pillow of regret. Because our experiences overlap, bodies at rest, hoarding dreams like stolen rainwater. How to survive adrift at sea. I feel like you might have published this one for me, did you?
I think so.
Awesome. 11/11, you guys. There are handprints all over your weekends, windows thrown wide to the night. The curve of loneliness renders strange fingers brushing your bare shoulder. You concoct an elixir of fire. Goldfish swim below the surface of sleep, unfurling the lantern sea until you can't stop dreaming the wet of it. You savor the sensation of drowning instead of writing. An impossible crush unfastens, something that was neatly folded. Paper-thin panties hit the floor, dissolve into mint ice cream, the fragrance of another Wednesday night. But desire is never permanent, and something new inflates your lungs, vacating old beliefs. In the nick of time, in the nick of bone, in the bed of another lesson, in the unspoken, miles are traveled, and with these scissors, you can mend the holes. How to land a plane. It's the small things that hold us, handcuffs and leftover puzzle pieces, names like fences that keep us home. Always the stories are about freedom, how to disentangle, how to unglue. You are a kite on a frayed string. You are breakfast every morning. You are the voice of your mother, quietly unscrewing the light bulb. You are the dog barking at strangers and skateboards. The city still beats at the heart of you. But the music of longing is melancholy. How can this grasping gesture reconcile the notion of impermanence? The door is open, and you can see the bright invitation of sun and sky. You are drawn to motion, like leaves unwinding the wind. Eventually, you will land somewhere. All right, that's it for how-to poems. Are we still good for the next thing? I'm